Hey guys, my name is Carrie and I wanted to start a vlog about Down syndrome. I just had a baby on September 26th of 2019, so he's almost 2 months old. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about how I found out, how I felt when I found out, and kind of what's going on right now. And hopefully I can continue vlogging, put him in some of the vlogs, and keep everybody updated on his milestones and how he's doing. So, I found out that I was pregnant January of this year, 2019, and it was unexpected, of course. So I was a little bit devastated, a little depressed, wasn't happy about the pregnancy. But I discussed it with the baby's father and we decided to continue the pregnancy. So at about 13 weeks, I went for my official ultrasound. The first one was just to kind of give me a due date. But the first one, when you actually go to the ultrasound tech, and that is when they found some markers of Down syndrome. Actually, I didn't know it was Down syndrome at the time. They had just said chromosomal abnormality, which could have been a little bit of a spectrum of different things. I kind of had a feeling something was wrong because the tech wasn't really talking a whole lot through the ultrasound, and usually they do talk to you, they explain everything to you that they're looking at, and etc., etc. She wasn't really speaking. So when she left the room to go get the doctor, I looked at my son's father and I said, something's up. So sure enough, when the doctor came back, he told me that my baby's nuchal fold, the back of the neck, measured bigger than they wanted it to be. The average range at 13 weeks, I believe, is 1.6 to 2.4 maybe. I'm not really 100% on the numbers, but my baby was at like 4 point something. So it was way bigger than it should have been. And also his nasal bone, there was something with his nasal bone. So those were the only two markers at this ultrasound that they found. So what they do is they offer you genetic testing, which I got, genetic counseling, which I got immediately after my ultrasound, which I've had before because I went through this with my second born, my 16-year-old. She had a cyst on her brain, which was an indicator of a chromosomal abnormality. With her, I did a blood test. I didn't want to do an amnio or anything like that because those invasive tests can cause miscarriage. And the way I looked at it is, what am I going to do if this is the way she's born? This is the way she's born. I'm not going to terminate the pregnancy. And I felt the same way with Jackson. So, with my daughter, she was born fine. There was nothing wrong with her. And when I did take the blood test, I did test positive for something. I just don't remember what it was because it was so long ago. This test with Jackson that I did, the blood test, I had to do it 16 weeks. And what it does is it can test your baby's DNA because it's free-flowing in your blood. And that's how they pick up. It's like a percentage. So because of my age, because I'm over 40, which anybody can have a Down syndrome baby, but you're at a higher risk when you're aged, the higher your age is. My test came back at like 99% that he had trisomy 21, which was Down syndrome. There are other chromosomal abnormalities. I don't know them all off the top of my head. I know the other one is Edwards syndrome, which I believe is trisomy 18. That one is not compatible with life. And that was what I was worried about. I wasn't really worried too much about the Down syndrome, although I was a little devastated to find out. I do work in the field, so I have experience working with mentally challenged adults. I know a little bit about Down syndrome, but I'm nowhere near professional and don't have all the answers. And everybody's different. They're different, just like we're different. There's different spectrums, and there's high functioning, middle functioning, low functioning. Excuse me. So, after the test, took about 2 weeks to get the results. I got the results over the phone, which was kind of shitty, but that's the way they do it. I was upset. I notified his dad, and, we said, You know, this is the way God made them, and, you know, we'll just take things as they come. So the next test, not test, but the next time they looked at my baby was at my 20-week ultrasound. And at the 20-week ultrasound, they looked through everything, all the organs, make sure everything is forming properly. Babies with Down syndrome tend to have a lot of medical issues, not just mentally challenged, but medically challenged as well. Everything came back perfect. The only thing that was measuring a little short were his legs. So if I was at 20 weeks, his legs were say at 17 weeks. His legs were always measuring about 3 weeks behind through the entire pregnancy, from that point on. It might have been a little bit later when they found out the measurement of his legs, but pretty much that's the way it went. So those were the only markers that they were finding. There was nothing else wrong. As my pregnancy progressed, because they did follow me, I was considered a high-risk pregnancy. I was having ultrasounds monthly, which is more than the average pregnancy. And towards the end, they started to find a little bit of fluid around his heart. And they said that that could have been a normal amount of fluid. Sometimes Down syndrome babies have fluid around their hearts. So I had to start going weekly for ultrasounds and non-stress tests. So the first ultrasound that showed the cardiac fluid, the second ultrasound, it was gone, but now there was fluid around his lungs. And that kind of stayed for the rest of the pregnancy. And it didn't get any worse. It did actually get a little bit better, but they still transferred me to a different hospital. So I'm from Massachusetts. I was originally supposed to deliver at St. Luke's Hospital in New Bedford, Mass. And they transferred me to Women and Infants out in Providence because they are better equipped to deal with babies in their NICU. They're just better equipped for high-risk pregnancies. So there was a chance that I was going to have to deliver him early, which didn't happen. I ended up having him at 39 weeks by C-section. Not anything to do with the Down syndrome, but because I've had a C-section before. My original OB recommended that I didn't go vaginally. Once I got to Rhode Island, they gave me the option, but I had already had it in my head that I was going to have a C-section. So I just continued down that road, and I labor forever and ever and ever, and I didn't want to go through that. I figured the C-section has more risk, but it was just better for me overall. So I delivered at 39 weeks, and everything went well with the delivery. He did come out. I'm a little bit fuzzy on the delivery because I had a shot of Ativan because I was having a massive panic attack. Once they started to give me the spinal and I was getting prepped to go in for the C-section, I had a bad panic attack. But I do remember the doctor, when he pulled him out, he put him over to me, and I remember his little tongue sticking out, and he said he definitely has Down syndrome. And they immediately took him off to the NICU because he was having problems with his oxygen. He was having problems breathing. Nothing to do with that fluid or anything. He ended up having a clean echocardio test. His lungs were fine. It was to do with his muscle tone. And he continuously kept putting his chin to his chest when he would go into a deep sleep, which was blocking his airway and making his oxygen drop, which is the way they explained it to me. So he was in the NICU for 12 days. The crappy part about that is I didn't get a chance to bond with him right away. I went to go visit him in the NICU, and once I was discharged, I was there every day, but it's not the same as having them with you for 24 hours and being able to do skin to skin. And I wanted to breastfeed him. I didn't breastfeed my other children, and I regret it. I wish I had, but I chose to with Jackson because I figured he already has this, this challenge, and I figured it would help him. It's just good for them. It's just the best thing for them. So I was pumping. When you first start breastfeeding, anybody that breastfeeds knows you don't get a whole lot of anything, mostly colostrum. But they actually took that on a Q-tip, stuck it in a little tube, and brought it up to the NICU and swabbed his mouth with it. He wasn't eating for the first couple of days anyway, because he was on IV, and the oxygen, once they started to decrease the oxygen, they started to feed him. And he did amazing. He had one little fallback, actually twice. He had the first one, they had to put the oxygen back on him. And the second time was, he was already off the oxygen for a few days, but he kept having dips in the middle of the night. Nothing when I was there. He was fine while I was there the whole time, but probably because he wasn't in as much of a deep sleep, because we were holding him, we were talking, making noise, yada yada. So that was a little setback for him, and it was kind of a day-to-day thing. They didn't really have a date for him to come home at that point, which was frustrating, but he was in good hands, and it was the best place for him to be. I still panic now. I'm up like watching him like a hawk. I can't sleep good. I'm afraid he's going to stop breathing in his sleep because he's no longer on a monitor, and because he was having those issues, it makes me nervous. But otherwise, he's doing fine health-wise. I have early intervention that I have met with once. They actually come right to your house, or they'll meet you anywhere in the community. They're pretty amazing. I haven't really had a lot of services through them, but what they offer is pretty good. So if you're going through this, if you're finding out that your baby has a chromosomal abnormality, Down syndrome specifically, there are a slew of opportunities out there for them. It's not like back in the day with the clients that I take care of, who they were born and parents were told the best thing for them is to put them in an institution. It's not like that anymore, which is great, because I feel like my clients could have done so much better. Like, it would have been a world of difference if they were raised in a home setting, loved and nurtured by their parents, and not put in some institution that, if you haven't researched institutions back in the day, I'm not talking about now, I highly recommend you do. It's horrific. The conditions they were living in were horrific. The way they were treated was horrific. It was just, but that's what they did back then, was mentally challenged, even autistic people, that didn't need to be in an institution. Down syndrome people are the most happy-go-lucky, fun-loving. They're always happy. It's not a place for them. I mean, if you have to be in an institution, I'm not knocking that, because some people, unfortunately, they're that bad, they have to be. But today it's just different. They're integrated into classrooms with normal kids. They will have an IEP. Daycares, I believe, up until 3. They can go to any daycare. After 3, they have to be in a daycare with an IEP as well. But yeah, I just wanted to start this vlog to follow Jackson and his progression, and anything that he has any issues with, reaching out to people, other parents that have. I know there are some groups for parents with Down syndrome, babies that are out there. I just haven't been to any yet. I do plan to go to them probably when Jackson gets a little bit older. I might need some more of that support. Right now he's still so small that I don't really see a whole lot going on as far as him reaching his milestones that he's not reaching. He seems to be doing pretty well as far as I'm concerned. If you were to look at him, you may be able to tell that he has it. His eyes are almond shaped. Some days he does look it, and some days he don't. It's really strange. I don't know if that's just me in denial. I don't know, but he definitely does have it. They do a fish test, and the fish test will confirm, if they have it or not. Other markers that he has, his ear flap, the top of his ear where ours curves, his is completely flat down. The lines on his hands, the top line goes straight across on his palm, where ours kind of go all over the place. His big toe separates from his other toes, which it's very vague. It's not really something that stands out to me. It looks like a baby's foot. What else? He has, the back of his neck is a little bit thicker. That was one of the first things I noticed when I went to go first see him. That was the first thing I looked at, was his neck. And you can definitely tell by looking at that. But otherwise, I mean, He just looks like a normal baby to me. But I'll bring him on to the next video so you guys can all see him. He's the cutest little thing. He does seem to be having some stomach issues. I don't know if it's things that I'm eating because he is getting some of my breast milk. He's not fully breastfed. He's not feeding off of me. I'm pumping because he couldn't latch. A lot of Down syndrome babies have thicker tongues that tend to protrude out of their mouths. His does not. But he did have difficulty latching, probably nipple confusion more than the Down syndrome, because he was getting the bottle right away in the NICU. And I didn't meet with lactation for days. I did when I was upstairs in my room. They came down and showed me how to pump and all that good stuff. But as far as him latching, I didn't meet with someone for like 5-6 days after he was born, which isn't too late. But he wasn't feeling it. He's a gulper, and the nipples that I use for him are infant nipples, but I feel like he needs something different because he definitely gets a lot of air, and so that makes him really gassy, and it makes him really fussy at night. He's not having a problem pooping. It's not constipation. It's definitely gas. I can hear it in his stomach. His stomach's always gurgling, and he's always kicking his legs, and you can just tell he's uncomfortable. So besides all that, he's doing very well. And I'm just here to tell you, if you're pregnant right now and you're getting the same news that I got, let's see, 7 months ago, 8, 9, 10, 11, yeah, about 7 months ago, don't be devastated by it, because it's not the end of the world. They can live very healthy, happy lives. What helped me was I did a lot of research. I watched a lot of videos. I did come across some very sad videos with other chromosomal abnormalities that are not compatible with life, where the women lost their babies, and they knew they were going to. They knew they weren't going to live. They decided to continue to go through with the pregnancy and have that baby, and whether it was 2 hours or 2 days, they embraced what they got. For me, that would probably put me in a nut house, but I didn't know if it was Down syndrome at first. It could have been another one of those chromosomal abnormalities, and he couldn't be. It's a possibility he wouldn't be here right now, but he is, and he's happy and he's healthy, and his family loves him, and we're all going to do our best to push him and integrate him and give him the best life that we can give him. But yeah, if you have any questions, or you want to just talk about it, if you're just finding out, you can message me. Just let me know how I can reach back to you. If you have any advice for me, or any good stuff to tell me, do the same, and I will do my best to get back to you as well. But I will just keep continuing to vlog. Hopefully he will be in the next one. Maybe I'll do one tomorrow. He's with his dad right now, so he's not here. But yeah, we'll just continue to vlog his progression, and hopefully everything is good. And next video I'll give you a little more information about the Down syndrome clinic, and the early intervention and what they do, and the services that they give. This is like the 3rd time I've tried to do this video. I should have just kept the first one, because it was probably better than this one. But anyway, so yeah, next time I will talk a little bit more about that stuff. I don't know a whole lot about it. I haven't been to the Down syndrome clinic yet, but it's just another service that I can get for Jackson that will help with his life and make things easier for me, hopefully, and help get through the rough times if there are any, and I'm anticipating there will be. I guess my biggest fear is him integrating into society, and as a mom, you don't want your kid being picked on or teased or anything like that. I mean, I go through it with my 16-year-old, and it's not fun. So, that's probably my main concern. Other than that, I really don't have a whole lot. His health is good. He does have to see a cardiologist, because just because his heart is good now doesn't mean he won't develop any malfunctions in the future. He did fail his hearing test on one of his ears. I'm not sure which one it is. He definitely can hear. I play music for him all the time. He jumps when there's any loud noise. If he's sleeping, you can see that it startles him. And they did say that the test wasn't 100% accurate. But they do tend to have vision problems and hearing problems. So there is a possibility he may need a hearing aid. There's a possibility he may need glasses. But I'm pretty sure he can see. He focuses in a lot. I have a little Snoopy, his little Snoopy dog that he loves. He makes eye contact with me. And those are the things that the doctor has been asking me during our visits, if I see those things. He did fail a couple of things with the early intervention when they did the testing. The first time that they came here, they only did maybe like 5 different tests, and he scored a little bit low, but he did pass a couple of them. But I guess it wouldn't be a good thing if he passed everything, because then I wouldn't have any services for him. So I guess it's kind of a good thing, because I want to be able to have, you know, that support system and services if I do need it for him. So that's about it for tonight. And like I said, I will be trying to continue to vlog and maybe add my other children in, you know, just us acting crazy or whatever. I'm new to this, so bear with me. That's it. That's it for tonight. I'll see you guys next time. And again, if you have any questions or if you have any information for me, I would really appreciate it, because I don't know everything about it. I do work in the field, but, you know, everybody's different. So, I'd like to know what to expect, and maybe what you went through if you do have a baby with Down syndrome. How they reach their milestones, if they didn't reach their milestones, anything like that. Anything I need to look for that I haven't been told yet by the doctors or whatever. I'd greatly appreciate it. So again, my name is Kerry, and I will see you guys all soon. Have a good night.